Initial Thoughts is a spoiler-free movie review series. All opinions are my own. Hi everyone, welcome back to Initial Thoughts, a series in which we talk about films as and when they're released. Today's film we're talking about is Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is written and directed by Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, and stars Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Su, and Ki-Hu Hwan. I really apologise if I butchered any of those names. I probably have. So you're probably thinking to yourself, hang on, this guy's doing Initial Thoughts on this video and it came out 15 million years ago? Okay, well it's about, what, 6 months, 5 months, something like that? Maybe even longer over in the States. It's been out a good long time, essentially. So why has it taken me so long to see Everything Everywhere All at Once? Because I'll be honest, it was a film that, before obviously it was leading up to its release, it was a film that the more I heard and the more it gained traction, I thought, okay, I'm hearing a good lot about this, and maybe we'll give it a go if I get a chance. And then once people started to see it, so many people called it their favourite film of the year, and they thought it was an absolute masterpiece, and really some people giving it the highest praise they can for a film. And I thought to myself, okay, I really need to see this film when it comes to theatres near me. So then, it came to theatres near me, and by near me, I mean it went to a really awkward slot, and I just never got around to seeing it, which was just highly frustrating. The one time I had planned to go and see it, it went out the week before. So then I was... Basically, it just wasn't meant to be. I just was not meant to see Everything Everywhere All at Once in the cinema. So anyway, I digress. So it cut to just a few days ago, and I'm scrolling through one of the streaming sites I had, and I seen it. They've just added it, and I thought, finally I'm going to see a movie that I have waited for so long. Because I could have tried to get it maybe on a stream online and not the great quality, etc. I'm not really about that. Fair enough if that's for you. I'd rather watch it with good quality and experience it as much as it can be while watching it at home to the quality it should be. And it deserves, especially in a film like this. And as I just mentioned, it's a film that coming into it, people have such high praise. It's not often when I'm talking to a lot of people, and a lot of people that I spoke to that did see the film that I knew, varying movie fans, not die-hard cinephiles. It was a lot of it was genuine moviegoers that thought this movie is fantastic. They loved it. It was hard to find, probably similar to yourselves who have seen it or know people that have seen it. You're probably I've heard what I heard, which was barely anybody talk any kind of smack towards this film. All of it was praise. And it's not often you get that. Usually most films, even if there's films that I've done on the channel we've talked about before that I've absolutely adored, but I get why people aren't that fussed on, they don't love it. But this seemed to be unanimous in its praise. So I was going in certainly with a level of expectation, let's say. Although I like, of course, as we all do, to make our own judgment. So then I sat down, watched the film, and Everything Everywhere All at Once is one of the most amazing experiences I have had with a film in a long time. It is such a unique... It's a film where I find myself, where do I start with this? Where do I start? I think the best place to start with Everything Everywhere All at Once is the performances. And we'll start with our lead, in Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh deserves all the claim, all the praise, not just for this film, but for her career as a whole. She just has so much strings to her bow. She has so much quality over the years, and for her to get a movie like this, for a studio like A24, which of course I'm a big fan of A24, a lot of their work, and it's hard to deny that the range of quality of films that they put out does vary. They have had absolutely brilliant films, they have had very much not so good films, but a lot of them, for me personally, tend to fall in the kind of mid to good level, but some break into the real hierarchy, or the higher echelon of their quality. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is certainly that. So let's get on to the, as I say, the performances. And Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh as the lead in this film, as Evelyn, is one of my favourite performances by an actress, or actor for that matter, in the longest time. She is so engaging. She is wonderfully connective with the audience. I find myself really... because she does a wonderful thing, and it's something that it will be my overarching thing on when I talk about this film as a whole. But she does such a brilliant conveyance of normality and the absurdity and the kind of craziness of this film, plus and she does such a well, for her as the figurehead of this film, and to perform so well with both the normality and the craziness in making them both feel authentic. And I suppose that's the word, because a film like Everything Everywhere All at Once should not be taken seriously, if that's the right way to put it, because there's so much in this. And when we talk about multiverse movies, we've had, certainly with the Marvel era we're in, we've had a lot of talk about multiverse, and that's kind of what their whole current phase is based on. We had Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange, which is a film, if you've been on the channel for a little while, you know I wasn't the biggest fan of. But who would have known that the best multiverse movie that I've ever seen wasn't Marvel, it wasn't DC, it wasn't any of these kind of crossover, overarching, kind of IPs. It was a little kind of unknown movie. I say unknown, that sounds silly now because it's so far after the fact that it's now kind of got this cult status as a wonderful film that, as I said at the start, that everybody kind of unanimously loves. But for Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's kind of criminal how well it blends the different genres it explores throughout the film. Because as I just said, you have the absolute craziness. You have, when it came to any kind of multiverse movie, you imagine, when you go into it as an audience member, you maybe, well, as certainly I go into one of these films thinking, I need to see something that really shocks me. And you go into a multiverse movie probably thinking, okay, I'm expecting some really wacky things, so it has to be really out of left field to shock me. And some of the shock factor in this, some of the hilarity, it's quite a... I say quite, it's very comedic at times in this film. I find myself laughing out loud in a lot of portions of the film. But that's not the whole picture. Because yes, it does have the craziness, it has the absolute absurdity that, again, as I said, it shouldn't really be taken seriously. But my word, is this an emotional story? Is this again, I go back to that word connective. I find myself really engaged with these characters. Not only Evelyn, played by Michelle Yeoh, but her daughter Stephanie Sue, and the character Joy, and her husband Wayman, played by Ke Huy-Quan, and a few others. We had Jamie Lee Curtis in here in one of her best roles in years. We had James Hong as the father figure. Just some truly standout performances. And yes, Michelle Yeoh is, of course, the bread and butter, as I always say. I always love using that term, but yes, she's the bread and butter, and yes, she's the kind of glue that holds this film together. And if she isn't fantastic, this film isn't fantastic. Yes, that's true, but that's not discount the credit and discredit and take away from the performances of the other key roles, because the emotion, and that's a word I want to kind of hang on for this, because I did not expect myself to be so emotionally invested in this story, especially it's broken up into acts. We have the first act that is everything. We have the second act, which is everywhere, and as a closing act, we have all at once. So it is genuinely broken up into the three acts that I always talk about. Sometimes I would talk about the second act is strong, the first act's not so great, etc., etc. So it's easy to kind of narrow it down that way. But for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of people would share this opinion if they love the film, there's not a part of this film that is a lull. There's not a part of Everything Everywhere All at Once that is a chore to get through. From the first second, the first minute, the first interactions and dialogue, all the way through the madness, I find myself, as we approach the end of this film, no matter how crazy it gets, which it does, it goes absolutely bananas, certainly in the middle section of the film, but to have it have such madness, to have it have the craziness throughout the film that really starts from near enough the beginning, but to convey that in such a wonderfully... the storytelling in this film, probably that's the best term, because you would think with a film like this, and again, I will harping on only because of the multiverse connection. That's the only reason I bring this other film up. But in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, we did have the multiverse, and yes, there was a bit of, oh my god, that's da da da, and this is this, and there was the shock factor, if you like, and a little bit in that film. Maybe not as much as we would have expected, but yes, there was a bit of that. But there was no story to grip me. I found myself bored in that film. And that's with pre-existing characters that I already knew. I went into this and I had no connection to Michelle Yeoh, his character, or family the characters throughout this film. There wasn't any emotional connection at all. But I kind of was astounded at how well this got me as a movie, as it kind of hooked me in from the first 5 minutes. And I went in going, okay, I'm kind of a bit tired of the multiverse, and that is maybe a Marvel hangover a little bit, but I am a bit tired of the multiverse premise a little bit. But this film is, people are right, this is a masterpiece. This is a film that achieves, on paper, if you're in the writing room or you have this script and you know who's going to be in this, to strike gold the way they have, with Everything Everywhere All at Once, to have the quality that it does, it has the madness, it has the craziness, it has the fun. It's a really enjoyable film, it's comedic, it made me laugh a lot, but also to have such perfectionate storytelling, coupled in with really emotional family themes that connect to, I would imagine, to most people. And that was the thing. For myself, once I finished this film, I was kind of in a bit of a state of shock of, like, first of all, what have I just experienced? And I love that when I come out of a film. Obviously, this one I was watching at home, but I love that when I finish a film. I had that last year when I came out of Dune for the first time, and it was, wow, that really has that's taken me back, not in a way of it's taken me back in kind of nostalgia or anything, but it's just made me kind of reset. It's made me kind of go, wow, it reminds me why I love film. It reminds me why I love the cinema. It reminds me why I love perfection in storytelling and what can be achieved through cinema. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is truly one of my favourite films that I've seen in a good long while. It is just... I couldn't wait to talk about it after I finished the watching it. I just came straight on, turned the microphone on, and now I'm chatting to you. Because it's a special film. It's special. And I can imagine that some people might be turned off a little bit by the silliness, a little bit by the emotional side. Some people, I get it. And maybe it isn't for absolutely everyone. And that applies to a lot of films. But from what I've seen, and again, I harken back to what I was talking about when I started the video, which was the kind of unanimous support for this. And I felt like I was being left out of the picture. Of course, it was on my own fault that I never actually got around to seeing it in the cinema. But everybody I talked to that had seen this film, you have to see this. I was like, is it really that good? Please. They all said, please, if you get a chance, make some time and see this film. And I'm sad I didn't take their advice. I didn't try to prioritise my schedule enough to go and see it in the cinema. But at the same time, to be here now, having seen the film just by myself, I just sat and watched it alone, and to have experienced a film like that, I loved it. I love this film. I haven't said that too much since I've started the channel about films that I've truly loved. There's maybe been a handful, and sometimes I'll say I love what they were able to achieve, and you know, they'll hit all the right marks and yada yada yada. But this film just, and I go back to that word I said earlier, it connected. The connection it has, not only with the audience to have fun and enjoyment, but also to pull on the heartstrings, to connect to you in a way that you'd be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't relate to this film in some ways. And that's the craziest part, because we're talking about a movie that's a multiverse that doesn't hold back in its madness. There isn't, ironically, it's a multiverse of madness that they explore, and they tell one of the most beautifully poignant stories of the last year, 2 years, maybe even 5 years. Everything Everywhere All at Once is truly special, and that's the word. That's all I can really think of. I think that's the best word to describe it. As you can see, IMDb has gave it, after a while and after probably the longest it's been since films came out to be actually doing initial thoughts on it, the score settled as an 8.1. A high score, but nowhere near high enough. As you probably guessed, with the way I was talking there in the last kind of few minutes, Everything Everywhere All at Once gets another golden 10 out of 10. I didn't expect this to be that. I thought we were looking at a 9. I'll be honest, that was the hope. When I started, when I sat down to watch it, I thought, and obviously all the high praise, I thought, Everything Everywhere All at Once will be, I think I'll enjoy it. I'll enjoy it like a lot of people did, and maybe give it a 9, and that would be it. This film is just, I love it. I love it. I love what they were able to achieve with such a fun premise, such an enjoyable premise, but to also connect so much and just tell a wonderful tale. And it's as simple as that. To have storytelling like that, I think it's right up there. It probably is, for me, the greatest A24 project that they've had so far. It's my personal favourite. It'll have to take a hell of a movie to stop it, you know, or to take it off the top spot for A24 productions. Everything Everywhere All at Once, I get why people wax lyrical about this film, and you've listened to me for a little bit of time now, and that's exactly what I've just done too. If you get a chance, it's not the longest film in the world, but if you've listened to what I've said and you feel like I might give that a go, I might give that film a go, do it. I mean it, do it. Do yourself the biggest favour. Because yes, there's been other films that I've absolutely loved on the channel so far that have got really high scores, similar to the score I've gave this one. But this film was a different kind of experience. The other ones were brilliant in their own way, in a very different way, but also in a maybe cliche to an extent storytelling kind of way. Whereas Everything Everywhere All at Once is the surprise factor of a film that does not, on the outset, it shouldn't have the quality, it shouldn't have the brilliance, and it shouldn't be as good as it is. But not only is it brilliant, it is, yeah, that word again, a masterpiece. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts on Everything Everywhere All at Once. A very late review, a really, really late review. I apologise again for what I said. I was annoyed I missed it in the cinema, but I got there eventually, and I'm glad I did, because this film is just, I'm on a high after watching it, and it's not often I get that. Even with really good films, there's not often a film really gets me just smiling about cinema and movies and everything, and optimistic for what the future can bring. Because to have this just come out of the woodwork, because when we had the full list of movies to come out in 2022, we didn't go, oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once starring Michelle, that's going to be amazing. No, nobody thought that. Unless maybe you were in the writer's room and you went, this has got real quality. And yeah, okay, I get that. But yeah, this film is truly special. I implore you to go and see it. And if you enjoy listening to me talking about this film, want to hear me talking about other films, we've chatted about a lot of good films on the channel so far. We've chatted a lot about some not so good films as well. So there's quite a contrast. If you want to stick around, I would appreciate you so much for it. If you want to hit subscribe, leave a like, let me know you enjoyed the review, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Before you go, here are some of my other videos. For updates and information on upcoming videos, the best place to find us is my Twitter. Much love, everyone.